Do you want me to introduce it then?
Let me know when you want.
Yep.
Vi kan få göra det.
Very good afternoon. Welcome to Scarlino. It's the big Saturday showdown, the decisive races for the Royal Cup, the fourth regatta of 5 of the 2022-52 Super Series season. And on top, going into this big showdown, Sled, with Quantum not far behind, though it's not a two-boat race. But first of all, let's look back at the action from yesterday, and this is yesterday's highlights video. Penultimate day of racing here, incredibly tight at the top. It's going to be all to play for today and tomorrow to decide who's going to win the Royal Cup. There's going to be a little bit of waiting until the breeze settles in. Meanwhile, at the top of the table for the season title, it's all square between Quantum Racing and Phoenix, Tom Slingsby and Terry Hutchison, both from American Magic.
The Phoenix team is really well sailed, and yeah, they don't make a lot of mistakes. It's one of the few boats in the fleet that possesses the ability to round the top mark in 6th or 7th and turn it into a 3rd.
It's great that we're so close and racing. We're all tied up at the moment. It's pretty cool, but we've got a lot of racing to go, and Sled are starting to eat away into our lead, so the 2-horse race might turn into a 3-horse race soon.
But we're talking about at the end in Barcelona, who's going to be on top of the standings?
I guess I got to say my boss. It's probably going to be Terry.
He is the boss. He is the boss. Yeah, I've got to be a little careful sometimes out there. No, that's not the truth, actually. I'm going for him just as hard as anyone.
So race 7 starts in a building breeze. It's only 8 or 9 knots on the start line. 1.7 mile beat. Quantum Racing lead up the early part of the beat and get round ahead and build a big lead down the first run. Platoon get through them to lead through the leeward gate. But there's a big shift or an increase in pressure on the right side of the course, which is recognised by Prevetsa coming up the second beat. So they lead round the top turn and through the finish line. Prevetsa winning. Platoon get through in second, Allegra third and Sled in fourth. So Platoon go 2-1-2 over the last 3 races, and Sled extend their lead to 6 points at the top of the table. So the second race of the day, the breeze is round about 15 knots but fading over the course of the race. Quantum Racing have a big lead all the way around the first beat and down through the first leeward gate. Value get back in the second beat and get up to second, but Sled lose out in the shifty conditions and drop to 6th. So Quantum Racing finally seal a race win, their first here in Scarlino. Value gets second, but down in 6th then Sled still lead into the final day by a single point.
I think if you saw the results, it was a pretty tough day. We fought back a couple of times and then dropped back a couple of times, but you know, we have to take the positives away from the day, and we made some good moves.
I'm a little bit angry about the first race because we deserve better than that, but I mean, it's nice to get smacked in the teeth and then come back and follow it up with a win. The Sled's beaten us by a point, but the goal was always to go into the last day of racing with an opportunity to win the regatta, and we've done that, and so tomorrow it's up to us.
So leaders of the Royal Cup are Sled with 27 points going into the final day. Second are Quantum Racing on 28. Third are Phoenix on 31. So big Saturday showdown here in Scarlino in prospect. Sled leading by a single point from Quantum Racing on one of the most challenging race courses of the season. Well, that was yesterday, and we had a good day. Two decent races. Breeze dropped off for the second race, and now we're into today. Northwesterly breeze. Remember, we've been sailing mainly in the southerly breeze, southwesterly, and the early part of the week just east of south. Well, this is a northwesterly. We've seen 18, 19 knots in the higher pressure in the gusts in the last hour or so. Breeze has now dropped to around about 15 knots on the start line. So it's going to be a very, very different race course. We've not raced in this. It's still very shifty, and very puffy. Breezes up and down. So it's all new in terms of this week. Many of these sailors have only done a little bit of racing here, and this has been a very, very dynamic racetrack. And it really has tested the strategists and the tacticians, the afterguards, and they've loved it generally. You know, it's nice to come to a venue that's not so well known. We've been here twice. We came here in 2016 when Quantum Racing won, and in 2017, which was the Rolex TP52 World Championship, and that was when Platoon won their first of 2 world titles. So say the breeze is a little bit up and down. We've been waiting for the skies to clear a little bit. It was a bit of cloud and one or two little thunderstorms still around and about the area in the early part of the day. So the big question is who's going to win? Well, it's there's just a point between the Sled and Quantum. Sled really had actually their worst score of the regatta so far, with that 6th in race 8, the second race yesterday. They were actually up in 3rd, I think, at in the early part of the race, and dropped 3 points in the latter stages of that race, and that's the first time we've really seen that. Really, the afterguard on Sled, Francesco Bruni and Murray Jones, have been on fire this week as their navigator. Andrea Vicentini said they're seeing things on the water that other teams are not seeing. But Quantum Racing, as I said, have won here before in 2016. They've won 2 regattas this season, and they're poised just 1 point behind. They've had one or two little changes on board. They're missing the long-time mainsail trimmer, who is Warwick Fleury, who unfortunately has a health issue at the moment. So he's had to be substituted by Chris Hosking. That's a big, big change. In terms of the mainsail trimmer, really is the accelerator and works so closely with the helmsman. So that's been a big change for Quantum, and certainly I know that on the first day everything felt new. So they've settled in. They won their first race win came yesterday in the second race, so they kind of have got the impetus going into this big finale today. And they are, they've won 2 regattas this season, missed out in Puerto Portals when owner-driver Doug DeVos was away doing the Chicago Mac race. A big long-term commitment, the race he does every year. Then Phoenix are really not too far out of it. They're only 4 points behind. They've been pretty consistent, 1 or 2 bigger scores, a 6th and a 5th, but they came away with a 3rd in the second race yesterday. They're 4 points behind. And a key change, a key difference for them today is that we do have Hasso Plattner, the owner-driver, is on board. He's been desperate to sail all week. He's been out a few times and it's been too bumpy and too breezy for him. And in fact, yesterday he went out and then came off just in the last half hour before the start. Anyway, so that's a big change for Phoenix. Hasso's massively experienced. He's a lifetime sailor, and he will slot into the Phoenix team very nicely, I'm quite sure, and will be looked after very nicely by Tom Slingsby and Cameron Dunn, trying to keep things simple on this big final day. Interlodge, we're just seeing in the left of the group. Interlodge and Gladiator had that collision just before the start of the second race yesterday, and both had to sit it out. Interlodge unfortunately have a 3-point penalty, which they carry. Gladiator get redress for that race, 4.5 points, and are back on the water after a long night with the boat builders. But anyway, 15 seconds or so before the start, it's looking like the committee boat under the line is favoured. Just the final speed build, and looks quite even. Interlodge making a nice start. Austin Fragoin on the helm of the Interlodge, I think, getting off the line quite nicely. In the middle of the group there, you can see solid start from Quantum Racing, very much in the middle, and up towards the committee boat and the line, Platoon and Phoenix. Sled, pretty solid start for them as well. So this is a new wind direction. It's expected to be pretty puffy and pretty shifty. So I think the wind axis is about 300 degrees, just settled into that. There's some bigger shifts about half an hour ago. The cloud rolled back, and it should be just a little bit more settled. So Interlodge have had the best start off that left end of the line. Nice opening from Ed Baird and the team on board Interlodge. Nice way to come back after that situation on the start line yesterday. Gladiator 2 in second. All eyes though really on Sled, Phoenix and Quantum. Sled with the upper hand just now, only 10 metres in it. So Phoenix and Platoon opting for the right side early on. Certainly the boats on the left seem to be quite high on this starboard tack. So Privet's had a good day yesterday. First and a fourth, they were actually the top scoring boat of the day. Gets them within 4 points of Platoon. In fact, Platoon, after a little bit of a red letter day the previous day when they had a second and a first, then went 2 and 7 yesterday. And of course 7, there was only 7 boats on the water because Gladiator and Interlodge both retired from the race, but retired before starting in fact. So a little bit of a long night for the boat builders from the Interlodge team. Some damage to the bow, and the Gladiator team damage to their aft port quarter. So all credit to both teams for working into the night and getting their race boats back on the water and competing. And meantime, big picture, there's just a point, I think, in it between Quantum Racing now leading the circuit standings, and we're always thinking about that on this circuit, and particularly at this stage where we've only got today and then the Barcelona regatta to decide the destination of the 2022 title. So you may consider that it's a bit of a head-to-head for the Royal Cup. All the time the risk management equation takes into account the big picture, the long-term aim. So clearly the breeze is quite streaky on the water, and imagine as we get further upwind it will get more shifty. But Privet's just have Quantum a little bit pinned for the moment. So some gain on that right side to Platoon, but I think it's actually still fairly even considering Phoenix are over there in 7th, and Vayu, Manu Weiler working the tactics on Vayu, has done a great job this week. So Platoon chasing Allegra on the regatta leaderboard, 3 points behind if they're going to try to get to 4th place. But considering they started the week down in 8th, I think, at one point, that would be a pretty good outcome for the Platoon. So just now it seems to be the right side coming in. Allegra having to do turns there, unfortunately. I think possibly fouled Gladiator, but we can see them completing their turns. I wonder whether we could have a quick look in due course for a wee replay, perhaps. I'm hearing no. You can but ask. Anyway, that's a disappointment then for Andy Soriano's team in 4th just now. And the, as I said earlier, the key thing for Allegra is protecting 4th from Platoon. Unfortunately, Platoon leading now and Allegra in 9th, so things looking good for Harmuller Spear. They are 7 points behind the podium. There's our projected regatta standings. If position stayed the same just now, Sled would win, or Sled would lead by a single point. Phoenix 3 points behind, and then there you go, Allegra and Platoon, 3 points between them. So just now Platoon would have overtaken Allegra. So that's the provisional standings, or that's the standings at the moment after 8 races. Vayu appearing to be through Platoon for the moment. This right side getting stronger. Onto this lifted tack, the starboard tack. Here we're getting a replay then, Allegra and Sled. Remember, this is our umpires are on the spot, and Allegra clearly fouling Sled. Allegra going across on port as the giveaway boat. Sled had to alter course, and so penalty on Allegra, dropping from 7th to 9th. So exciting stuff then. Phoenix in 3rd. They're 3 points up on Quantum Racing and 4 points up on Sled. So intel from the racecourse saying there should be a little bit more wind strength, a little bit more wind pressure on the left, but the better shift and the flatter water is on the right side. So that's the balance, that's the equation just now. And the breeze will be pulsing in a little bit from the left. So Preveza leading, as they did yesterday in the race number 7 when they won. Race 7 victory for them though was very much about getting into the right shift, coming up the second beat, go round the top mark, going from 7th to lead round the top mark, whereas this time they're building their lead on the first beat. Hamish Pepper, the tactician on the Preveza, Nacho Postigo, veteran navigator, and Colle Parada, Argentinian runner trimmer who sails as strategist, has sailed almost all of his Super Series career previously on Azura and Matador prior to that. So Preveza, and those of you who follow the circuit will remember that they had a pretty miserable start to the season in Bayona. They had health problem running through the team last minute, if you follow my drift, and also they had a problem with the forestay pin, which meant they missed 3 or 4 races and then had to readjust the afterguard thereafter. So things going better for Preveza this half of the season for sure. Finished on the podium in Mallorca 2 months ago, our last regatta, the Puerto Portals, and just showing what they can do here just now, just crossing Quantum. John Cutler, Finn bronze medalist and America's Cup sailor, match racer. A Kiwi who originates from Manchester. And for those of you who need to know, he's a City fan. Allegedly. Anyway, they are leading Platoon. Platoon in second just now, further to leeward. Both, of course, the only 2 Vrolic boats in the fleet. Quantum getting themselves up to third, 3 places up on sled. Just a little bit of a recovery then from Allegra on that left side, having to take turns. They ended up behind Gladiator, but just now building leverage on Gladiator to the left of them. Platoon just crossing behind Preveza, very close. For me, Vayu quite nicely positioned to the right. May just take a hitch after Preveza, but it will depend on the trend for the breeze. Phoenix owning and protecting the right side. Meantime, Quantum tack up to Sled's line, I think, or sail up to Sled's line, and will no doubt cover them. So Preveza just seemed to be a little bit slowed on that right side, as we were just noting earlier on. Wind pressure on the left side. Platoon clearly having a little bit more And the breeze, I'd imagine, a little bit dottier, a little bit more up and down on the right side. That seems to have been what have slowed Preveza. Platoon sailing a high mode just to get round the Preveza bows, I think. And for sure, I think they've got enough space to tack inside, which they do, and will, I think, lead Preveza around the top mark. Quantum potentially in fourth, but at the moment they're probably focusing most on having Sled behind them. So Platoon overlapped with Preveza. Preveza have to give Platoon mark room such as they need, but good beat then from Basco Vascotto and Jordi Calafat on the Platoon, leading around the top mark, overlapped with Preveza. Quantum come round in third, Vayu fourth, another good beat for them. Interlodge in fifth, unable to capitalise on that excellent start, early part of the first upwind. Phoenix round in sixth, Sled seventh, so they are 3 places behind Quantum. Eighth, Allegra, and ninth, Gladiator. As ever, lots of questions and observations coming in on our social media channels, just responding to a few of them. Gordon Dundas in Scotland asking if it's all windward leeward races now in Super Series, no coastals on anymore. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your viewpoint on these, it's all windward leewards. And particularly somewhere like here where the coastal race opportunities are actually quite limited in terms of really, or the kind of the topography doesn't really lend itself to coastal racing the way, for example, Costa Smeralda does. We did coastal races last time we were here in 2017 and 2016. They were not the most exciting coastal races we did, and in general they require different sails for the reaching legs in particular, and they're much more of a variable than the teams like. So for the moment there's no coastal races. And an Argentinian Azura fan from Buenos Aires, Gustavo Oscar Wilhelmus, shouting go go Vasco. So truly international audience today. Of course, Saturday people have time to watch and enjoy the 52 Super Series. So there's the projected point standing after this race, if the places stay the same. It would be a Quantum leading Sled now by 1 point at the moment. Phoenix 4 points behind in third, Platoon up to fourth on 40 points. However, Sled have always have been quick, very often split jibes with Quantum on the downwinds. Let's see whether Murray Jones and Francesco Ceccobruni, whether they can work their magic coming down this first run. Vayu keeping themselves in the match in third. Phoenix in between Quantum and Sled. So the right of the run working best just now for Preveza. Remember, downwind, we're always looking for the headed breeze, the breeze which allows you to sail more directly towards the leeward gate. And the stronger breeze, being able to use the gusts, the puffs for longer. And today, much flatter water. Yesterday and the previous day, particularly the previous day, we had quite big seaways built up. Big long fetch to the south here. And that really let the sea build up, especially on Thursday. Less so yesterday, but very difficult, choppy conditions at times. So for me, Platoon actually probably getting back at Preveza just a little bit. Slide rumbling downwind nicely. Slightly higher than Vayu. So really it was all about winning your side really off the start line, bearing in mind that Platoon went right off the towards the boat end of the line. Preveza went left off the pin. And they're the top two just now. Though for sure, I think the left certainly coming stronger just now downwind. Quantum appear to have taken value for the moment. Preveza and Platoon close. Pendulum swinging to and fro. Interesting then, Preveza appear to have jived back. Presumably taking, or going into a little bit of a lefty, a lift. Not really an ideal situation for them, however. So things looking favourable then just now for Quantum Racing in the tussle for the big trophy, the Royal Cup. Phoenix going quite nicely by the looks of things on that right side. Have some pressure. Actually, Quantum, I think, have closed up on Preveza. So heading down towards the Leeward Gate. Platoon actually in the end are quite comfortable, 120, 130 metre lead. Quantum just in front of Provezza. So well up to schedule then in terms of the day's timing. Remember that we can't have a warning signal after 3:30 on the final day. So we should be fingers crossed okay. Platoon then leading into the Leeward Gate. It's going to be busy behind them, but I think that most are going to opt for this right-hand mark looking upwind. Appears to be just a little bit of bias there. So indeed, then Quantum second now, third round the top mark, second now. Provezza heading to the left-hand mark, looking upwind. Interlodge have gained a place downwind up to fourth. Phoenix fifth, up from sixth. Allegra certainly back in the mix, but going round the Leeward turn pretty much at the same time as Sled on opposite marks. So just now looking good for the Quantum Racing fans. Challenging for the, or certainly holding second just now. Provezza coming back at them very slightly, but their biggest concern at the moment is that Sled are 4 or 5 places behind. Very much in the traffic. We didn't see the kind of place changes downwind that we have in the preceding races in the southwesterly. Quick look at the boat speed, all pretty even. Quantum, of course, started the season on good form, hitting the ground running in Bayona, our first time there. They won the Abanca 52 Super Series Bayona Sailing Week by 7 points. Phoenix a very close third. Faded a little bit towards the end of the week, did Phoenix. They started well and had a big day when they scored 14 points. Ended up just a point behind Platoon. And Quantum, of course, then went on to win the Rolex TP52 World Championship in Cascais. Their margin there, 7 points. From Platoon with Allegra there in third. So Platoon then holding firm, that lead over 140 metres. Prevents them making no visible gains on Quantum for their positioning themselves on the left. Phoenix still fifth. Yeah, I think Sled have passed Value for the meantime. I say Value pushing out to that left side, trying to find something. The breeze still 14-15 knots. Ideal conditions for this final day. And in the end, Scarlino delivering a full package, a full 10 races, we hope. No reason to suspect why they shouldn't, but we've had racing every day and good breezes. So Interlodge having a good race with their fourth just now, bouncing back after that disappointing situation on the start line of race 8 when they incurred these 3 penalty points. So fighting back, and they have their own little duel with Gladiator with just half a point in it between 8th and 9th going on the water. So this will be to Interlodge's advantage. Getting themselves off the naughty step. So this result, if it stands, there's no reason to believe it won't. Platoon, if they win this race with Allegra down in 9th, that will comfortably take Platoon up to 4th. And getting them within reach of the podium. I wonder if we could have a look at the projected points. Look at that, as if by magic, Quantum Racing 1 point up, Sled second on 31, Phoenix would be on 38, Platoon 39. So I say Platoon getting within touching distance of the podium. Allegra dropping points just now in 9th. They dropped to 5th, Provezza in 6th. Only a point between the two of them. Value 7th on 50, Interlodge 63, and Gladiator presently or would be on 65.5. So all to play for really still. All about whether Sled can pull back 1 place or 2 places before the finish. For sure, Value are not out of reach. Nor indeed Interlodge, nor Gladiator. So all to play for Sled, though they are out on the furthest right position. Our intelligence from the water said that is where the best shift is, the lift on starboard historically, but the breeze is up and down more on that side of the course. But kind of looking at Platoon's angle just now, that's rather belying that theory. For me, a little bit of a left-hander coming in. We see potentially Value benefiting on that, but Value have been pretty impressive this week. One or two deeper results, but very, very often in the mix. Really have made some big advances over the course of their season. Starting up very much with a clean sheet of paper in Bayona. And of course, one of the historic rivalries in sailing, really, as well as in the 52 Super Series between Terry Hutchison and Vasco Vascotto. Long-time adversaries when it was Quantum versus Azura. That rivalry now rekindled, reinvigorated with Vasco on the platoon. And obviously sailing with Jordi Calafat, who sailed on Quantum as strategist for a while. So Sled, unfortunately, really not making an impression on this race at all. 7th at the top mark, 7th at the leeward gate, and 8th just now. Phoenix were up to 5th at the top mark last time, and now 7th. So everything moving in Quantum Racing's direction. And also improving for Platoon. Platoon, I mean, you might reflect with Platoon how things, how much better things could have been, but obviously bringing Vasco on and starting from scratch with him on board Platoon has not been easy, but they had a jib tack strop, the jib strop failed on the race 2, and I think they were up or 3rd or 4th then, lost 3 places, and then in the next race they had to do penalty turns at the top mark and dropped to 8th. So the early part of the regatta really was pretty tough for them, but on fire just now. Value still 4th. Interlodge. Allegra, Phoenix and Sled. So overall though, after these penalty turn for Allegra, going from 8th to 6th to 5th. So just looking at Gladiator going across this offset leg. So there you go, projected results just now. Quantum would go into the final race with a 5-point lead if things stay the same. Platoon just 1 point off the podium. And I'd consider that would be a good result for Platoon if they could get there. So again, things looking increasingly favourable for Quantum, who came here with a 2-point deficit, I think, to Phoenix in the overall rankings for the season, for the 2022 season. Quantum could move, or are presently 9 points clear. Platoon 9 points behind. Phoenix, so we're going to have an exciting regatta. 10-year anniversary celebration in Barcelona, where the circuit started. The Conde del Gordo Trophy in May 2012. So unfortunately things not really working out for the sled team at the moment, when they really needed to be keeping Quantum behind them. Quantum 6 boats ahead in second, sled in 8th, and they have more than 100 metres to pull back even to get through Phoenix. Phoenix 2, not where they would want to be in 7th. So split down this run, Quantum holding right, Platoon opting for the left for the meantime. So have Platoon given up their lead. So looking good for Quantum just now, as we said in the early part of the programme. A long night for the boat builders on the Interlodge and the Gladiator teams. We had a quick word with Fergal Finlay, who's now project manager on the Gladiator, stepping up to the plate, and he was keeping an eye on the boat builders overnight. This was Fergal. We spoke with him just before they went on water. So Fergal, a long night for your shore team and that for the Interlodge. What was going on?
So you can probably see just down on the port aft corner of the boat here that we had a glance from the bow of Interlodge just in the pre-start yesterday. We had a crack in the outside of the hull and just in the inside of the coaming there. So a bit of laminate to go on, a bit of a core replacement. But the boat builders just did a fantastic job, as they always do when we have a little touch, and get us back on the water for the next day.
They're all set up to do that's their practice job, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as the collision happened, we were on the phone and they were preparing stuff. So as soon as we docked in, they were straight onto the job, and it's all in a night's work for these guys.
So all in a night's work, as Fergal was saying. I've seen it earlier on the season with these just a glancing blow really on the start line yesterday of the second race, and both teams had composite work into the evening. So Vayu appear to have rolled round Pravetsa for the meantime. Correspondingly, Quantum seemed to be through Platoon. A little more wind pressure on this right side perhaps, but we're not really going to know until Platoon come back on starboard. As often you see now then the Delta. It's all about the geometry of the race course just now, and the measurement is who's closest to the leeward gate, or sorry, to the finish line. Platoon, I think, would get in from there. But certainly credit to the Vayu team for sailing the 2015 generation boat really well. Found the gears and have really benefited from the Quantum backup, the coaching, and all the data and analysis, and the little tiny small differences in terms of setup can make a big difference to performance. Just sled have pressed out to that right hand corner almost. So Platoon crossing Quantum, or I think just cross and jibe. Certainly they are closer, remember. It was nearly 100 metres at one point, but closer to 30 metres. Preveza and Value are close too. Let's follow it in through the finish line. This is race number 9. Of 10, and this looking very, very good for Quantum. In the meantime, with their main rivals Sled, I think back in 6th just now, they have made some gains. Close between Platoon and Quantum, but Platoon coming with the starboard jibe advantage. Quantum maybe just nipping in there. Platoon get it, I'm pretty sure. Quantum second, closer than we thought. All the way to the finish line, but Quantum gets second. Preveza second at the top mark, third in this race. Still watching Sled out on that right side, looking upwind. Whether they can sneak through Allegri, let's wait and see. But Preveza then through in third. Value, Don Whitcraft pulls the bow down, shortens the distance to the finish line. Yeah, looking very much like Sled, nicking through in front of Allegra to steal a 5th place, keeping their hopes alive. So 1 place gain, then approaching the finish line, just sneaking through Allegra for Takashi Akura's team on the Sled, finishing 3 seconds up on Allegra. Can that be enough to keep them in contention, give them a fighting chance into the last race? Quantum though in second, 3 places ahead. It's going to be close, but a good win for Platoon, who really showed good speed all the way around the race course. Got ahead on the first upwind, coming off the pin end of the line, as Vasco likes to do. Won the left side, Preveza on the right side. They were the top 2 boats at the top mark. Quantum went round third, sailed a good run and got into second, and really pretty much stayed second all the way through. So there we go. The regatta lead now is with Quantum Racing overturning Sled's 1 point lead, and they go into the finale, the last race, the deciding race, with a 2 point lead over Sled. Phoenix in third now, 8 points off the lead and 6 points behind Sled. Platoon, that win takes them to within 1 point, within 1 place of the podium for this Royal Cup. Allegra then moved down to 5th. Preveza third there, gives them 6th. Value 7th, Interlodge in 8th, and Gladiator in 9th, but just still half a point difference between Interlodge and Gladiator, the advantage moving to Interlodge. So that's race number 9. Join us in a few minutes for race 10, the big decider. So the big finale then, Quantum Racing leading into this final race by 2 points ahead of Sled by virtue of that second place in race 9, the first of the day. Sled ending up with the 5th. They were 7th at the top mark and recovered to 5th by the finish line, and they are 6 points clear of Phoenix. Phoenix holding 3rd place, only a single point clear of Platoon, who won that race that just finished. So conditions still on the water, excellent, 20 knots or so on the start line, gusting to 20. We've had more than 20 in the gusts, and nice flat water. The breeze is in the 300 degrees range, so we're looking at the start line just now with less than 30 seconds to go. Remember, off the start line it was actually both sides paid in that breeze. It was really about who got off the line best, and Quantum lining up for the pin end start. They have Sled above them, their main rivals for the Royal Cup. And Quantum really get off the line best. They have Sled second and Privetza third. So at the right end of the line, probably Allegra having made the best start. Phoenix good in the middle of the line. Platoon just behind Allegra and slightly to leeward. So not their best start. Neither that of Sled, though Quantum not so brilliant either. But early stages, the left has been strong in this wind direction. Privetza going best just now in the middle of the group. Phoenix 2 boats to weather. So Phoenix really need to keep Platoon behind them. That's their principal objective, to hold on to third on the regatta standings. But at the moment, that's the projected points, with a race 10 taken into account. But Phoenix leading just now. I'm pretty sure that Tony Norris is back on the helm. Allegra second then. Allegra disappointing in the previous race a little bit, finishing 6th. little confusing there, saying that south-southwest is 300 degrees. However then, Preveza leading at the moment. Sled have that boat between them now and Quantum Racing. Need one more. And as if by magic. So we're just over halfway up this first beat. Quantum going furthest to the left. And the local intelligence, as we said in the previous race, says there's more pressure on the left side. The shift is on starboard. Lighter breeze on the right side. Phoenix very much working the middle of the course, Preveza slightly to the left. Sled left and bows forward on Quantum. Once again, Vayu very much in the mix. Presently third if they could finish with a 2.43 at this regatta. Close between Preveza and Phoenix. So just confirmation there from the Phoenix team that Hasso Plattner steered the first race. And is sitting out the second with Tony Norris back on the helm. Anyway, delighted to see Hasso back and enjoying his racing in the 52 Super Series. It's been a while, it's been too long. And speaking with Tina yesterday, she was saying that she plans to be in Barcelona and on the helm of the Phoenix there, so pleasing to hear that her back is much better. Family are such great supporters of the Super Series, and indeed, remember they were hosts to us in Cape Town at the beginning of 2020. See, at the moment, the regatta would go to sled, I think, on count back. But we're still not yet up the top of the first beat, still a third of the beat, or just less than a third of the beat to go. It's shaping up to be a busy mark rounding. Just a small lead to Phoenix over Preveza just now. All the time it's about Quantum not getting boats between them and Sled getting boats between them and their title rival. Sled last won a regatta in Palma World Championships in November last year. So looking at the breeze lines then, the course trails coming up the top of the first beat. For sure the breeze lifting on that left side where Quantum and Sled are. Preveza slightly bow down. Allegra quite nicely positioned out there. Got them in third and will be first to the starboard tack lay line. Platoon over that side as well with Vasco Vascotto and Jordi Calafat. The big question is how Sled and Quantum slot into this lineup going round this top mark, coming in on port just now. Their advantage increasing momentarily as they go sail higher on port, closer to the windward mark now. That lefty coming through then, working for Preveza, and they're going to be comfortably across Phoenix. So Preveza, it's going to be round the top mark first. 7th round in the first windward mark in the previous race. Phoenix and Vayu side by side. Vayu will get round, I think, in third. Vayu once again a little bit tight on ley line. Don Whitcraft having to shoot the mark a little bit. That is to Sled's advantage, as they will be almost overlapped as they go across the offset. Allegra having to tack and take a little hitch up to windward to go behind Platoon. Platoon round in 5th. So Interlodge round in 9th. And for the moment, then a straight bearaway set. Sled, you can see, appear to have done turns. Certainly, yeah. Dropped 2 boats then. Not sure what that was for, but that is costly. That is leaving them with an uphill battle to win this regatta. Projected results then now, Quantum would win by 4 points. Quantum potentially heading to Barcelona with a 12-point lead. Certainly redressing their losses which they sustained in Puerto Portals in July. However, not over, far from it. So Sled punching out to the left, looking for something. A little bit of a roll of the dice perhaps. No obvious advantage or gain to be had just following Quantum down that run. After that penalty. Quantum chasing value a little bit quicker just now. Sled's penalty exacerbated because he had to then jibe into a lighter breeze. So hence the reason they're trying to do something different, working that left side. Quantum trying to roll round the outside of Vayu. But Vayu jibe and protect. Quantum will go on a little bit. So look at the net loss in terms of distance between Quantum and Sled. because of that penalty. Almost 400 metres. So that tells the story just now then. Really difficult for Sled. Quantum would win on 33 points. Phoenix tied just now with Sled. And of course then if Phoenix can just get through Preveza before they finish, then Phoenix could get themselves up to second. Certainly Phoenix working hard to accomplish that, but a 160 metre lead by Preveza. Preveza starting to really put some results together here. Going potentially 1-4-3-1 in the last 4 races of the regatta. Could make them the strongest finishing team over the last 4 races. So certainly to race 8 yesterday we had 7 different boats had won races. Only Interlodge and Gladiator have not won races here, though Interlodge had a second. Gladiator have led a few times, or certainly been top 3. They led 1 race. So Preveza then pretty solid at the moment, approaching this leeward gate. Phoenix appeared to have got back at them a little bit. Preveza have none other than Santi Lange in the coach boat, Olympic champion from Rio, 3 times Olympic medalist. Taking time out for his Olympic programme just now to come and join the team in Preveza, coaching Cola Parada, who's his good friend and one of his coaches on the Olympic programme. So leeward gate, first through is Preveza. Preveza actually have built a pretty substantial lead. This right side looking actually quite good for Platoon at the moment. Looking very likely that Platoon will get round this right mark before Phoenix on the left mark. So Platoon a good gain from 5th to 2nd. Quantum a little bit caught in the middle here. So Quantum still 4th. Allegra 5th. Phoenix dropping to 3rd from 2nd. So Sled ending up 9th for that 40 out to the left side coming downwind. So in the end, looking very much like this could be a comfortable win for Quantum at this regatta. This would be their 3rd regatta win this season. As we said in the projected points tally earlier on, could be heading to Barcelona with a pretty decent lead. That's how the points stack up at the moment. If the positions stayed the same, well, as we said, halfway down that run, if Sled lost any more places, it would give Phoenix 2nd, and that is the situation just now. So Sled have to battle back from 9th just now, potentially going from starting the day with a 2-point lead to dropping to third place overall. And in fact only a point up on Platoon, so Platoon challenging Phoenix a little bit. Certainly some leverage out to that right side. As I said, then Quantum would go to Barcelona with a 12-point lead, and Platoon would only be a point and a half behind Sled. So certainly the podium is wide open. And for sure Platoon really getting the wheels back on the programme here with the addition of Vasco Vascotto to their afterguard. The only teams which have won 2 races here so far are indeed Platoon and Sled. And as we mentioned a moment or two ago, that right side leverage for Platoon, getting them through Phoenix. So Platoon 5th round, the top mark, now up to 2nd. There's a big wind shift going through, or we've seen a big shift on the course, 20-degree shift, and we've reorientated the course. Accordingly, and that's why you're now seeing sled on that right side up to 6th. Phoenix net loss. Really going to get the clearer picture when we get towards the top mark. But for sure a little bit of a gain on that right side to sled with this right shift. So for sure Quantum will just keep a loose cover on sled, keeping on the same side of the course as them just now. They have 3 or 4 boats between them and their main rival, sled. So all very encouraging for Ergen Imri's team. As I say, potentially lining up as the strongest finishers to the regatta, going 1-4-3-1 potentially. Down the left looking good just now. We've seen that lift on port. Unfortunately sled way on the wrong side of that. See whether Phoenix can get back at Gladiator and Quantum. Looks reasonable just now, though they do seem to be losing a little bit of their favourable angle. Platoon a comfortable second now. And Value in third place, I mean potentially finishing 2-4-3, having won the first race of the event. They've had some deep ones, but really they've been middle of the fleet a lot of the time and top third a lot of the time, and just proving a great advert for coming into the Super Series, as they did in the Invitational event last year. Signed up to the Quantum program, proving that a good, strong, cohesive team, good management, good resources, and a competitive boat can certainly go on the water, hoping to win races and finish in the top half of the fleet. Just need to improve on their consistency. So final top mark of the regatta then. Trevet's a leading round by a considerable distance. Value will come round in third. Quantum getting round ahead of Phoenix. Remember, Phoenix were third through the Leeward Gate. Phoenix then fifth, having dropped from second. Gladiator sixth, Interlodge seventh. Eighth is going to be Allegra. And ninth, and then Sled, who were regatta leaders going into today, so very difficult day for Takashi Okura and the Sled team, the team which are the current 2021 52 Super Series champions. That penalty turn at the top mark really costing them in the end, not just the distance lost making the turns, which they did fairly quickly, but they ended up jibing into lighter breeze, and then that jibe out to the left coming down this first run still cost them, I think. Anyway, interesting watching this, how this run's developing straight off the bat. Then Phoenix appearing to have got through Quantum. at the moment tied between Platoon and Sled for second. Phoenix potentially dropping to or getting fourth. There's a circuit standings after this race. If positions stay the same, Quantum potentially going to Barcelona not with a 12-point lead but with a 13-point lead. And Sled and Platoon perilously close together, just half a point in it. If positions stay the same, which they do look quite likely to be. You can't immediately see Sled gaining a point to replace. And Platoon do appear to be comfortably in between Preveza and Phoenix. Phoenix doing great work down this run though. Came round the top mark, one place behind Quantum. Remember, they were second at the top mark first up and lost to Platoon down the run. Bayou unfortunately ending up on the outside of the run there, holding on to the right, coming downwind initially when everybody in front of them jibed early. Do appear to be very slow. Wonder whether they have a problem with their kite or something, but much slower than the fleet. So looking good for Quantum Racing then. The Royal Cup has its their name on the trophy for the meantime. Winners here in 2016, but this will be the first time that Doug DeVos, the owner-driver, will have won here in Scarlino. Scarlino in 2016, it was Ed Baird and Terry Hutchison. Ed was steering, Terry as a tactician. Ian Moore, I think, was navigator on Quantum at that point. Yeah. Confirmed that Vayu have torn their spinnaker. And potentially then if Vayu can hold off Sled, then Platoon, Sled and Phoenix would all end up in 41 points. So that would be a tie break to work out. But really underlining how close this fleet is, you know. Just emphasising that then. Platoon, Sled, Phoenix. Platoon certainly, or Platoon and Sled have both won 2 races. So I'm sure if that does play out in terms of the projected tie break, then Harmuller Speer would be pretty happy with that, considering where they started the week. And how they started the week. I think they were 7th or 8th after the first couple of days. They were just 6th in Puerto Portals, Mallorca in July. 2nd in both of the first 2 regattas of the season, I think. But one of the key things was they just weren't getting the consistently top 3, top 4, top 5 results, which you need to do to be challenging for the title at the end of the season. Quite a bit off the pace they were in that respect. And Platoon have been 3 times runners up and finished 3rd overall last year. We're watching to see whether Sled finished 9th, which would precipitate that 3-way tie break. But in the meantime, Preveza going through the finish line to take an important victory in the last race of this Royal Cup. It's a good win for the Preveza team, for Ergen Imre. It's a team which started the season in a tough, rough situation for them in Bayona, but starting to string results together and, to say, finished on the podium in Puerto Portals. Platoon, same thing applies. Their change is vindicated then as they come through for 2nd. In the race, I think probably going to end up 3rd on the podium, depending whether what position Sled come through in. According to my rough maths, if they don't finish 9th, then they should still hang into 2nd, I think. Phoenix, though, coming through for 3rd. Maybe, though, Quantum just be able to steal 3rd. It's very, very close. Another super close finish. And Quantum just getting there for 3rd. Then Allegra, Vayu, Sled. So Sled getting 7th. They were 9th at the top mark. Gladiator, Vayu, the big loser there, unfortunately 3rd to 6th. Sled takes 7th. Gladiator 8th, and Interlodge are 9th. So no mistaking the regatta winners here in Scarlino, Tuscany. Quantum Racing doing all they needed to do on the final day sailing consistently, getting a third there with the sled 4 places behind. I wonder whether we can we see the regatta standings just in the next few seconds, but incredibly close. The big finale then, great conditions, 20 knots in this northwesterly breeze. And Quantum Racing, all credit to them. They had a couple of crew changes, as we mentioned a few times over the course of the week, with Warwick Fleury unfortunately sitting this regatta out with his health problems. We wish Warwick all the very best, and hopefully we'll see him back with the 52 Super Series in the very near future. But also credit to Chris Hosking stepping into the breach, taking over in the main sheet and winning his first 52 Super Series regatta for a while. So Quantum Racing then winning on 34 points, Sled taking second place on 39 points. Platoon getting up onto the podium on the final day. Only on countback we see against Phoenix, both finishing on 41 points. Phoenix dropping to fourth, but incredibly close then. Pravetsa not that far behind in fifth, 5 points behind, tied with Allegra, both on 46. Vayu then ending up 7th on 54, Gladiator on 74.5, and just half a point ahead of Interlodge. So very close, lots of battles in between boats and 2s and 3s, doubles and triples, all the way through the fleet. Something to fight for all the way to the finish of this regatta, and what a great event it has been. And in the end, actually, Quantum Racing, we were talking about 12 and 13 point leads in the middle of that race. Phoenix will be 5 points behind going to Barcelona for the big finale, the season decider. Quantum Racing 130 points, Phoenix 135, Platoon 158, moving up to third place on the podium. 158, Sled 162.5, Allegra 182, Pravetsa 203, the Vayu 232, Interlodge 235, and Gladiator in 9th. So what a great regatta we've had. Credit to Quantum Racing. They really came and did what they needed to do, won the regatta, and as they head to Barcelona with a 5-point lead. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll have 5 days of live coverage in Barcelona. Join us then. We'll see you